Hi, my name is Tracy Southwick, and I'm the founder of Mind Body Spirit Release Academy, and I'm a traditional naturopath. I've been in this field for 28 years, and I am passionate about addressing emotions that have been unprocessed in the body. So today I'm going to talk about how unprocessed emotions can clog your drainage funnel. And then at ECO in May, which I'm very excited about, I'm going to share with you some tools to help identify and address emotional blocks or unprocessed emotions, as I prefer to call them, in the body. So let's get started. I'm going to tell you a little story, a testimonial from one of my practitioners. Her name is Lacey Falls, a student of mine. She was working with a woman who was on medical leave. She had had long COVID for 2.5 years. This woman is an engineer, brilliant woman, hardworking, but she was living at home, mostly on her sofa, from what I understand. She'd been working with functional medicine at an amazing clinic for about 7 months, and the needle just wasn't moving. So she came to Lacey to try to identify and work through some unprocessed emotions. And Lacey identified and addressed emotions around abandonment, feeling helpless, feeling deserted. Doesn't that sound like COVID? And feeling like she's not safe in this world. After Lacey worked with her, she sent her this text. By Friday evening, I had energy like I haven't seen in forever. It's now 5 days later, and I still have incredible energy levels, and I have been up and out of bed like I have somewhere to be each morning. This woman is back at work, and actually, interestingly, she decided to go through my course and become a practitioner from Mind Body Spirit Release. So today I'm going to talk about how the body stores unprocessed emotions, where they get stored in the body, and what does this do to your health? What does this do to the health of your clients and your patients? Let's first talk a little bit about Newtonian versus quantum physics. So much of what's taught today is still based in old Newtonian theory. Newtonian physics was really all about matter. There was really no connection with energy, anything besides what we could feel, what we could see, what we could touch. Quantum physics is just so much of a better way to look at our world from the beyond microscopic all the way to the big picture. In quantum physics, everything is energy. It follows the law of vibration, and the law of vibration is essentially everything vibrates at its own unique frequency, and those frequencies are measurable. We know this, right? Because we meet people and we can tell if they're high vibration or low vibration. Somebody can walk into a room and you will say, wow, that person has great energy, and you can feel it. Our bodies sense those things. Same with a physical ailment. When you feel depressed, when you feel sick, you feel very low vibration, just like when someone's depressed or someone's angry. Those are low vibration emotions. High vibration wellness, high vibration health, that person is bouncing around. They're happy, they're healthy, they're able to get everything done that they want to get done in this life. So, let's talk a little bit about storing unprocessed emotions. So low vibration emotions, the body translates them into biochemical toxins. The body doesn't understand the difference between an emotion and or a toxic emotion and a physical toxin, because everything is translated in biochemical terms. So if we store or don't process an emotion, and think about when you don't process or can't process an emotion, it's usually you don't have time, you're in fight or flight, you don't have the tools to process that. Life is happening so fast, we tend to hold on to these things. And if it's a low vibration emotion, the body can hold on to those. It just remembers them in biochemical terms, just like a physical toxin, like a heavy metal or something like that. But in order to process these emotions, we need the awareness of what they are, what we're holding on to, and we need the tools to process them. And again, when I talk at ECO in May, I am going to talk about and show you some ways that you can identify and some tools that you can use to process those emotions. So think about when your body is in fight or flight, right? You can't process. You can't and I'm not getting into polyvagal stuff, but just generally speaking, we all have clients, right, where their body's just not in a place to address physical toxins. It's the same way when we have stored or unprocessed emotions, in terms of those things can actually keep us from getting out of an unhealthy nervous system state, so that body can move into the rest and digest mode where the body can process physical emotions. So sometimes we're in a place where the body can't get into a mode where it can process things. It's caught in the cell danger response, and that's because you're holding on to unprocessed emotions. And once you process those emotions and let the body release them, you can move into a healing mode, which is really amazing and fascinating to see with our clients and patients, because we've all had those people that were doing everything right. We're giving them all the right supplements. They're doing, the near infrared sauna. They're doing all kinds of drainage things. They're grounding, they're eating right, and they just can't move the needle. So we're going to work on, in those situations, what potentially emotions might that person be holding on to that could be keeping them from moving to the next level and healing. We all have an energy signature. An energy signature is just a collection of all those frequencies in our bodies. It defines our health. And this is a great quote from Jen Rockcliffe. She's a brilliant PhD in aeronautics and astronautics, also a mind, body, spirit release practitioner, that where she says our energy signature is really the expression of our physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental health and wellness at any given moment. And if we have an energy signature that's vibrating up here, so if the sum total of all our frequencies is up here, we're going to heal so much quicker, so much more quickly than if we have a really low vibration energy signature. So where are emotions stored in the body? The emotions can be stored in organs and glands. They can be stored in the subconscious mind. They can be stored in the water of the body, and they can be stored in the DNA and the RNA. If you've ever heard of Candace Pert, she wrote The Molecules of Emotion. She's a very famous neuroscientist. She said the body is your subconscious mind. So let's talk a little bit about the organs and glands. We're probably all familiar with the idea that the liver stores anger, or the kidneys store fear, or the lungs store grief. This comes from traditional Chinese medicine. In the West, we really think of processing emotions and dealing with emotions on a neural or from a neural standpoint, from the nervous system. We think about the brain and the nervous system, whereas in the East, they talk about it, and have for centuries and centuries, that it's really somatic. It's really about the whole body and the body storing those emotions. So it's a fascinating, different way to look at how the body processes emotions and how that can affect us on a physiological standpoint. So one thing that we all are familiar with is the story about organ transplants. Somebody gets a transplant and it changes their personality. It changes their preferences. There was a wonderful, actually quite sad story about a woman, I believe she was in the UK, who had a heart transplant. Before the heart transplant, she was known by everyone around her to have a huge heart, so loving, just a big heart. Everyone knew that this woman was just pure love, and she just was emanating love. She had a heart transplant, and it changed the way she said she felt love. She said it became very flat, and it was very, very sad to her, because that was one of the things that brought her the most joy in her life. So that heart changed the way she felt. So it was a really interesting study on this woman and how it changed. It doesn't happen with all transplant patients, but it does happen with enough that it's significant. The subconscious mind. The subconscious mind rules 95% of our actions. It's really incredible. It's a great way to be efficient, right? Is going by habit, we know how to get home from work, so we don't think about it. We know how to brush our teeth. We don't think, traditionally, we're not thinking about every single movement that we make. And it's an efficient way that our mind works. But here's the catch. The catch is that our subconscious minds operate a third of a second faster than our conscious minds. And our subconscious minds are all about emotion. They're all about feeling. So we've all had this experience where we tell ourselves, I'm not going to do something. I am not going to eat that piece of chocolate. And dinner comes around, you finish dinner, and all of a sudden you catch yourself with that piece of chocolate in your mouth because it happens so quickly. It happened by habit that you didn't even realize you were doing it. Another story, actually, another thing that I talk about related to this is I was attacked by a dog probably about 30 years ago. And I knew logically that the dog was not going to attack, probably not going to attack me again, and other dogs weren't going to attack me. I love dogs. I'd always had dogs all my life. This dog just, for whatever reason, attacked me, and it was pretty traumatic. But for a long time, every time I was around a dog, I would have an adrenaline response, even though logically in my conscious mind, I knew that dog was safe. That dog was not going to attack me. But those are the things that stick around in our body, staying in our subconscious mind, creating patterns of behavior that keep us from being as healthy as possible, making decisions maybe that aren't the best for our overall well-being. So these pictures are from Dr. Emoto's book, Hidden Messages in Water. You've probably seen this as well. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. If you don't have it, I would recommend getting it because it's great to show to your patients and clients. What Dr. Emoto did was he took vessels of water and he would expose them to different emotions or different phrases. So sometimes he would write the phrase on the water. Sometimes he would have somebody hold the water and feel a certain feeling or say a certain phrase. So he would take that water after it had been exposed to those influences and freeze them and look at the crystals under the microscope. So you can see the crystal or lack thereof from the expression "you fool" versus "thank you," and how beautiful the thank you crystal is. So think about 75% of our, or 70% of our body, what kind of are being water or are made of water, is made of water. What do those crystals look like? What are they being imprinted with? Water is so essential for communication, transportation around the body, detoxification, energy production, and movement and flow. Our bodies are a flow system. So think about that high vibration I was talking about earlier. You want to be vibrating at a high level so that water can flow with grace and ease through your body. Memories or emotions can be stored also in the RNA and DNA. If you're a homeopath or have any education in homeopathy, you understand this in terms of miasms or a miasma, which is just a genetic tag. It's a tag on your DNA that brings information from an illness that somebody in your lineage had down through you. But also there are emotions that are attached to that. So there are different things. So you think about, there is a miasm called the leprosy miasm. So somebody maybe in your lineage had leprosy. Well, think about the emotions that go along with leprosy. The emotions can be feeling outcast, right? Feeling disgusted, self-disgust, those kinds of things. And those go along with a leprosy miasm, and they can show up in future generations as a tendency towards those kinds of characteristics or emotions. There was a study done, I think it was in 2011, where they took survivors of the Holocaust and tested their granddaughters to see if there was any difference in the granddaughters versus the general population. And they found that the granddaughters of those survivors had larger amygdalas and a higher propensity towards anxiety. So the anxiety and the trauma that those Holocaust survivors went through actually showed up 2 generations later. And then there's a great study where they took sea snails and they prodded them. They actually shocked them and kept introducing a stimulus to them to where anytime that stimulus would show up, they would assume they were going to get shocked and they would react like they were being shocked. They took the the RNA from those sea snails and put them in the control group. And the control group started to react to the stimulus as if they had previously been shocked. It was really amazing to see that just that RNA transfer made the sea snails act differently. So, like I was talking about before, emotional toxins slow down the flow and clog your drainage funnel, which we don't want, absolutely do not want. So where in your drainage funnel could you be storing toxic emotions? Could you be storing unprocessed emotions? We're going to teach you that at ECO. I'm going to leave you with one last testimonial. This is actually one of my instructors at Mind, Body, Spirit Release Academy, Amanda Mirabella. And she was working with a woman incredibly ill, 26 years old, bedridden. And when I say bedridden, I mean bedridden. She needed nursing care. They thought about putting her into an assisted living home. So she had Lyme and mold, amongst other things. So Amanda, when working with her, she couldn't even do anything on the physical level. This woman could not even take a pinch of a binder or anything because she was so sick. So Amanda, when working with her, identified the sinuses and the skin holding the emotions of feeling unprotected, vulnerable, and threatened. And here is the text that this woman sent to Amanda afterwards. Thank you so, so much. That was another incredible clearing. The pain I was having in my right hip went away, which is amazing. I noticed the overly caffeinated internal vibrating feeling went away too. My mind can go into planning mode and I can feel overwhelmed, but it doesn't have to be this big, full body physiological trauma response situation, which is huge. By the way, this woman is now working on the physical aspect of her health because she's been able to identify and address emotions that she had not processed. And she had a lot of trauma, physical, emotional trauma in her life coming up to this. So again, at ECO, I will be sharing with you some tools on how to identify these unprocessed emotions and not only identify them, but help your clients and your patients work through them. I hope you will join me Saturday, May 20th at 1:30 p.m. Leave you with this quote from brilliant Carl Jung: until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. See you soon.